Welcome, my friends, to the Holy Hour, the All Cure podcast. This is Gavin. Thanks so much for joining us on this very special episode as we wrap up the 2016 tour. It all started in 2015 in November when tickets went on sale. We had to wait a few months. Then the first show in New Orleans in the US in May. And then the European tour started in fall, and then it all wrapped up December 3rd, Wembley Arena, 3 nights. And our Cure Sherpa, Arusha, was there the whole time, giving us the first-hand scoop. And she did such a superb job wrapping up this finale episode here. So I'm going to let her dive straight into it. Stay tuned after Arusha's analysis. We do have a quick review from Emily and a write-in from Christine. Without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to our Cure guru, Arusha. Take it away.
Hey. Hello. This is Arusha, your old friend from Push, a Cure fan documentary. First of all, I want to say there's a reason why I chose the song Push as my title. And it's been interesting during this last year of seeing The Cure on tour, and what a big, incredible tour it's been, that Push was a staple song in the tour. Because on the Dream Tour, when I first embarked on my journey to document our experiences of following The Cure, they weren't playing Push, and we really wanted to hear it, and that was part of the reason why I named the film Push. Anyway, it's 1 week to the day of the last show of the year. 1 week ago, I was in the Wembley Arena with thousands of other fans celebrating the last night of The Cure's 2016 tour. And I've been thinking all week, on and off, about how to summarize what I experienced. And it's very hard to put into words. If I compare my ability to document after the LA, the Wembley shows were 3 in a row, right? And going into the Wembley shows, I mean, of course I wanted to go because it was the very end. It's easy because it's an English-speaking country, and I'm an American jackass who only speaks one language. I feel like such an asshole for that. And it just made the most sense, to see the end. I saw the beginning and I saw the end. That said, given the 3 Hollywood shows and the 3 New York shows, those experiences were great. They were really great shows, as they all are. But they weren't, I don't think either set of trios were special in the way that Wembley was. And I'm not certain as to why. My theory goes into both LA and New York are both very scenester industry towns. Who's who, what's what, famous people. You know what I mean? It wasn't like seeing The Cure in Boise, Idaho, where half of the audience had never, ever, ever seen The Cure, and their eyes were just so wide open, and their hearts were just open. At least to me, that's what I witnessed, is people just literally staring at The Cure, going, wow, like, I'm here. Isn't this great? This is incredible. Whereas, many times in a city like LA or New York, people go to shows and they're excited, but they're also excited to be seen. They're excited to see who's at the shows, and they're just kind of distracted because those towns are huge and distracting. And you kind of got to be on your A game at all points in time. So, I don't know. I mean, the Hollywood Bowl shows were great, but it just didn't have what Wembley had, and I'll get back to that in a minute. After the Hollywood Bowl shows, my friends and I got the recorder out, and we all reviewed, and we talked about The Cure, and it was great. I mean, part of that experience was my Cure experience for the year. You know what I mean? Part of my experience of Cure Tour 2016 was, quote-unquote, meeting Gavin and Donald through Instagram, I think, and joining forces, and how fun that was, and how fun it was to incorporate other people who wanted to get involved. So after the Hollywood Bowl shows, it was very easy to do a summary. And same with New York. You know, there were these Cure fan meetups, pre and post, and it was just easy to walk around with a recorder. And I was in my hometown, and I had people helping me film. And so I just had less of a burden and more energy to do that. And in the Wembley shows, you know, I traveled with my really good friends, Jennifer and Megan, but I didn't have any film crew help. So I was trying to accomplish a lot of things on my own, which is just exhausting. You know, anybody in the film industry, when I told them that I was doing everything by myself, they thought I was crazy. And it is crazy. It's, you know, do not try this at home, team. Travel with a film buddy, at least to do your boom sound and get signatures. But anyway, so suffice to say that by the time I got to the Wembley Arena shows, I was exhausted. But then before the first show, I started feeling very sad about the end. And I just, that feeling hit me like, oh my God, it's over. Like, this is it. This is the end. And we never know if it's the last Cure show of life or not, but this one felt like it really could be. It really, really could be. And we had just come from the Manchester show, which was weird, and the audience wasn't into the band, even though they say they were, and I'm sorry, Manchester. I love Manchester. Anyway, there were Cure fan meetups before and after the Wembley Arena shows at a place called Lost Rivers Bar and Kitchen, which was really hard to find and completely annoying the first night because nobody could find it. But each night was totally packed, which, you know, if you're a traveling Cure fan, let's all admit it. Cure meetups can be great, and they can be, you know, any kind of meetup that you have with something that you love is fun, but it's also kind of, it can be annoying. Maybe you can't find your friends. There's pluses and minuses to nerdy meetups, right? But there was something just so special in the air that night. Oh Lord. Oh Lord. It really was. So I couldn't muster the energy to go around and interview people. I wanted to take in every moment I could as me, Arusha Baker, the Cure fan, without having to look at the mic and the time on the tape and all that stuff. I'm thinking about the next interview. So getting to night one of Wembley, I mean, first of all, people were queuing outside for hours and hours and hours. I personally can't separate the 3 nights of Wembley. There were definitely Cure fans who thought that one night was better than the other, but I completely disagree. At this point, it's like the Cure could play Friday I Am in Love 10 times in a row and I would be excited. I mean, it just, first of all, at that point they had gelled so well as a band on tour that year that it was just. To tell you more about the chemistry of the band as they are now, I'm going to take you to day 3. We're going to jump ahead in time to day 3 of Wembley in the morning when I met up with David Martinez from Barcelona. And here we are walking the streets of Wembley in the cold morning of the last show of Wembley. Let's start with introductions. I am with
David.
David, where are you from?
Barcelona.
And where are we now?
We are in Wembley, actually.
And it's how many? This is night what? 2 or 3?
Tonight is night 3.
It's night 3. That's right.
It's night 3, actually. The end of the tour tonight. And yeah, sad day.
Let's get some back history. So I met David in 2000, the Dream Tour in Milan.
I think so. I think it was in Italy. I can't remember what city was it, but yeah, in Italy definitely.
And David had followed The Cure quite extensively on that tour. And I was very young in my in my documentary phase, and I was very excited to be in Europe. And all the fans I would meet would be like, oh my God, I love The Cure, everything's wonderful. And I meet this guy who's exhausted, and he just starts talking to the camera. And he says basically that he has how many shows did you see on the Dream Tour?
13 actually.
13.
Yeah.
And at the time you said, I've been following The Cure extensively and I have no idea why.
Yeah. I remember saying that. I actually find it a very stupid statement because I knew exactly why. I know exactly why I still do it. But yeah, there's a reason behind it, you know. It's just about moments, happy moments in your life, you know. Whatever it makes you happy, you do it as much as you can. And at the end, we're just collecting unforgettable moments. I was a student by then, and when you're a student, your budget is a bit tight. And I can't remember where I got the money to do that on the tour, but you know, it came up. And yeah, I remember being really exhausted. Actually, Italy was the end of the tour.
Yeah.
And yeah, there had been so many stuff going on. Too many trains, too many planes, too many everything. And yeah, I can't remember being exhausted. Today is the end of the tour as well, and I am exhausted as well.
But okay, so after 2000, you continued seeing them.
Yeah.
You just keep going.
Yeah. Actually, 2000 and 2016 had been probably the most intense years. I didn't really follow the full tour in 2008. I saw some shows on that tour, not that intense as now. I've been attending The Cure every chance I've had since then.
How is this? Why has this year been more intense?
You know, I love the evolution the band has had in the last years. To me, having Reeves Gabriel on the band has contributed a lot to the sound of the band in general.
Right.
And it feels like in the last 5 years the band has got back all that energy and enthusiasm about playing live that at some point I felt like had got lost. The last 5 years have been amazing. And yes, I mean, The Cure are playing somewhere. I can't stay home.
So it's like a condition.
Yeah. It is why I would love them to retire.
Yeah. So you can save some money?
Yeah. Yeah, I would be richer if they retired. You know, I can remember once I was having lunch with some co-workers and I was asked, why so many times? And I just asked him, sorry, it was a boy. I asked him, did you have sex last night? And he kind of doubted. I said, okay, let's say yes. Would you have sex again tonight? He said, yes. I said, this is the answer. It just feels whatever you like to do it as much as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Easy.
And then, so do you see Irma? So I also met David with Irma, who hopefully I'll get to have a chat with her later. But did you met her through all this too, right? Wasn't she?
Yeah.
You were doing a Cure fan thing a while ago.
Yeah. I was in charge of the Spanish fanzine of The Cure since 1995 to 2000. And yeah, actually Irma wrote me a letter.
Yeah.
She got offended by a comment I did in the magazine. Yeah. Yeah. And And we met and we became friends.
Oh, that's
and
great.
We are still friends 20 years after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me a summary of your arc this 2016.
2016. But I've seen the last 16 tours of the show, shows of the tour, and
The last 14.
Yeah, the last 14 shows.
Yeah.
More or less. I was in Italy, the 4 shows in Italy, 2 nights in Milano, Rome, and Bologna. Then Amsterdam, which was amazing.
Why was it amazing?
Because of the energy. The venue has a lot to do about how a show turns up.
Like what?
It sounds amazing. The sound in the house is amazing. The Ziggo Dome is an amazing venue. You feel very comfortable. It's really, really prepared to have good shows there.
Okay.
It's really made on purpose. And then Paris, Lyon, Montpellier, the 3 shows in Spain, Madrid, Bilbao, and Barcelona. And then the 3 nights in Wembley. Actually, the good thing about this tour is that every show has been amazing. Because at the end, leaving a show is just a question of energy and emotions, And I mean, the way they are playing this year, it's just from another world. It's just they are playing perfect this year.
Is it out of this world?
Probably. Probably.
Will it ever be the same? No, I'm sorry. Just kidding.
Maybe someday.
Maybe someday.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been. I mean, they've made it amazing. They've been playing like perfectly. I mean, like. There have been so many years since they didn't get this chemistry with the new lineup. I mean, having Reeves there, and then Roger in and out, and then lull for some shows, and blah blah blah. And the energy now and the chemistry between the band, it just felt amazing. And this is what makes the shows amazing. I mean, despite whatever they play.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, hello. How are you? You got your... Oh, I thought you had your, cold gear ready.
Oh, my cold gear is there. Rescue blankets, you mean?
This is David. He's
David.
from
Hello.
Barcelona.
How are you?
From Barcelona? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're from Berlin.
Berlin, yeah.
Berlin.
Yeah.
Great. I love your city.
The mic is on, by the way.
The mic is on. The thing is, I couldn't see it because I'm looking into the sun.
Yeah. Phil you went to 8 shows in America?
More.
18?
If we are...
This is, the Holy Hour podcast?
Yeah. To be honest, it were 19 shows in the US.
And then how many for this?
21.
And it's been good? No.
All different. And all, sometimes all quite the same and all
Every
too
show.
much. And we are coming to the end. We're in the middle of the end, so expecting only the last show. So it's great. So the most overwhelming show that took my feet away or pulled my socks out was Thursday night, first London show.
Oh, the first, yeah.
And I'm just into it. So I'm just in between the too little dishy thing of saying goodbye maybe to going to Cure shows.
It's kind of a Blue Oyster Cult cover, but and yet it's not.
Oh my God, one of my favorite moments in Wembley Night 3 when Robert introduced Freak Show and said it was his Blue Oyster Cult cover. Not really. Did you catch Reeves bringing it in for a second? Don't Fear the Reaper? Anyway, carrying on. And there you have it. A great summary by David Martinez. I mean, if you had sex last night, would you want to have it the next night? There's your answer, simple as pie. And a surprise attack on Phil from Berlin. All right, let's get back to it, boppers. Back to post-show review 1 week after Wembley. Everything was tight. The sound in Wembley was incredible. The unity as a band and with all of their, stuff that they do behind the scenes, the logic board, the lights, the drum tech, the this, that, just all the little technical shit that I can't begin to name off. It was all just completely dialed in. I mean, thinking about, day one in New Orleans, which was magical in a different way because it was the beginning. But that if you compare those two shows night and day, New Orleans was sort of a soft entrance in a good way. It was an exploration, whereas Wembley was like, bam, here we are. Here is our fucking songs and our set. And what was beautiful about night one is that it felt like there was such a joyous buzz in the air and so much love for the band and so much love for the people around each other, people who just haven't seen each other for 16 years, or people who had only spoken to each other online, or maybe somebody who had met so-and-so in May, and here we are all together in Wembley at the very end. One of those life experiences that I think we as human beings seldom have, where the majority of people in the room are so present and so happy. It just becomes something very pure. And I think that when you experience art like that in like such a pure, raw state of emotion and presence, it makes you feel vulnerable because you're very open. When you're open, you're open to pain too, right? And disappointment. But I really, that feeling of like raw openness was just fully present and accounted for in Wembley, especially night one. And then, the band comes and plays so well, but I think they were really feeding off of the energy of the crowd. They really seemed to be reacting positively to what they were being given back by the audience. And I'm hoping somebody else sends in a review of this song, that song, and the other song. And I know Last Dance was only played the second night, and I can't remember. Baby Screams was in there one time, blah, blah, blah. But those points to me are superficial at this point, because out of all the Cure shows I've ever seen in my life, for better or for worse, I felt like Wembley could be the last Cure shows ever, and it would be such a tight, fantastic ending to an epic band and their following. It really could be a fantastic ending. And being that it's Saturday and it's about to snow outside, I'm feeling extra philosophical today. And I feel like I'm on the cusp of something. We are. I feel like we all are. Like this period of time right now we are on the cusp of an ending. Although one could say that there is a resurgence in vinyl records and tapes, Stranger Things, the TV series, did really well, partially because it was well made, but partially because it's sort of a nostalgia 80s trip. I do feel like it is our duty as rock and roll participants and consumers and lovers to take it all in now and document it, because things are changing. Things are coming to an end. And they'll be reborn. I mean, everything has its time and place. But like Jeff Schumann said, my friend who traveled with me in the beginning in the American tours, you know, it makes total sense in a way that a certain flavor of rock and roll, a certain vibe will end. Like the jazz era came and went, right? Jazz still exists, but there was a time when jazz was it, you know? And you could say that, like, if you go back into the 80s and the new wave, whatnot, when the Cure were sort of coming up, and the Smiths and Echo and the Bunnymen and New Order and whatnot, there was that. And then there was the 90s, like grunge and Nirvana and whatnot, and Britpop, and then hip hop kind of took the main stage over rock and roll. And then we had another resurgence around 2000. Super indie bands and little micro scenes started happening. You know, 2000 was like the years and the decade of the micro rock and roll scenes, because the big waves were over, right? Johnny Rotten came in, the Ramones and whatnot, and they just sort of blew the conservative mainstay out of the water. You know, I like to think of it as like the punks and the gays. The punks and the gays came out because, you know, you can't have one without the other. Everybody knows that, right? Punk rockers couldn't have, we didn't really have a place to like play and do our shows and whatnot when we were kids in the like 70s and 80s without the gays, because there were underground gay nightclubs that let punks come and play. Anyway, so the micro scenes of 2000 come, and, you know, then the internet comes, and then it's even more and more and more and more and more. Now we're in like super ultra micro town. But I don't think that the kind of experience that those of us that are at Wembley, and I would extend that to our extended family who are not there and who are just witnessing it through the internet, through the podcast, through conversations, but you're all there with us in spirit. What we experienced those 3 days in Wembley is something that is closing down. I'm going to play you a little excerpt from a radio show that Iggy Pop has on BBC Radio 6. And just to give a little example of what I feel like I'm saying is, like, we're in the end of an era. So take it in, soak it up, and spit it out, so we can all remember what it was like.
That's the Tijuana Panthers Summer Fun. I'm kind of falling in love with the Tijuana Panthers. The more I hear them, it's as if they were the grandnephews of Johnny Thunders. And when I first heard them, I thought they really were from TJ. But I don't think so now. I saw a picture of them, and I think they may be from like the SpaceX propulsion laboratories, or maybe Harvard Graduate School or something. But whatever it is they did to get there, they're great. I would like them to play at my rock party. I think the Confidential Show should have a rock party. People don't really have rock parties anymore because rock is kind of, well, you know, it's kind of, it's got corn in its toes. What can I do? Anyway, this is the Confidential Show.
Aw, Iggy, I'd go to your rock party. Come on. Let's all go to the rock party. We'll have the Cure and the Tijuana Panthers play. It'll be great. Bury me deep with rock and roll. So go out and relish it. Every chance you get. Go to your local record store before it goes away. Record your song on a 4-track before you lose your voice. Or more importantly, before you lose the strength, the mental, emotional, and spiritual strength to even try anymore.
Take, for example, going to the front and getting in the pit. A classic rock and roll adventure. Started most likely in the 70s. I'm sure some people did it earlier in time, but anyway, it's not for everybody. Nor should it be. But I can tell you, a proper pit to me is still as invigorating as it was when I was 15. So do me a favor. Don't put it on age. No. It's a choice.
The 3 days in the pit in Wembley for me were special for all the reasons I said before, but up to the front of a packed Wembley Stadium, and was squished with people of all ages and types, some fucking exciting people and some total weirdos who are just standing there frozen, which I don't understand. I don't understand why you would be in the front of a giant pit full of people and get mad at other people for dancing. I'll never get that.
And for more on that story, I bring you Antti from Helsinki, who is quickly becoming another famous Hollywood Square member. Wait, Cure Square member. Yeah, here we go.
Hi. Yeah, it really was special, those 3 nights. It's kind of hard. It's like this, all these 3 nights kind of blur into this one big long concert. Obviously I can remember stuff like that last 2.5 minutes of pogoing like there was no tomorrow, because obviously there was no tomorrow. I don't know, it was just like, that was very special. Because I thought, every night I was completely out of energy for some reason. I think the cold kind of took away something, because obviously Wembley didn't have a cloakroom, and I had my winter coat with me, which is a big coat, and it's very uncomfortable to be with that coat. And the last night I just left it in Crouch End, and I just came without a coat. Although most of the time, obviously, I was in some form of public transportation. But anyway, I was a little bit. Julian didn't really probably eat enough those days. Anyway, I was like every night I was like, latest the halfway through the gig, I was like, oh God, I have no energy. And then the last bit comes, and you just suddenly get this burst of energy. Like I don't know, it's amazing, and it's a really good feeling. Like when you, I don't know how that is even possible. Like how is where does that energy come from? And then the last 2.5 minutes, just now, it was this sort of now or never moment. And there was our pit was there was the front pit, and then we had another pit like 10 meters away from the front, and everybody was just going crazy. But at the same time, it's funny to notice, like, some people are like, what the fuck, why are you dancing like that, kind of like aggressively looking at you and pushing you away. And they're like, come on, this is punk. Have you ever been to a punk gig? Like, this is, if there is one song in Cure's back catalogue that is punk, it's Killing an Arab. So, come on. And those last 2.5 minutes were just fantastic. And it felt like I didn't leave the venue with, you know, like feeling sad about it being the end. I was feeling like, fucking hell, that was good. And the sadness kind of like happened afterwards. It didn't even happen the next day, and it didn't even happen 2 days after. It kind of happened yesterday. I was like, it's over. What the fuck am I going to do now? Like, I have to start thinking of life, and I have to start thinking of what I have to start doing. Like, but fucking hell, it's been a good year.
During the Dream Tour, one of the first people that I found in Italy were this group of backpacking Hungarians. And I didn't even know who they were. I was filming David Martinez, and into the frame walks, 5 people carrying backpacks, and they plop their bags down. We're behind a giant arena in Milan, and they just sit down. And one of them brings out this little portable soup maker, and he starts cooking soup. Why? Because they're traveling, they're backpacking and basically saving money so they can go to another damn Cure show. So I filmed these Hungarians and never saw them ever again. So cut to 2016. During the Wembley Night 1, I was a ways back from the front, and I see these people like holding onto each other in this chain. Like 6 people locking arms. And they're slowly making their way through the crowd. And this is after the Twilight Sad, but before the Cure. And I look over and I'm like, oh, it's the Hungarians. And I give an eye to the people that from the group, the 2 out of 6 that know me. And they kind of swoop me in, and we make our way towards the front. And I had the best time of my life with these people. I don't even speak their language. Most of them speak English, but I mean, I felt so comfortable with them and just had such a fucking great time. Because that night 1, my friends had seats. So, as Antti said, what do you call that? Like, what do you call when you get this energy out of nowhere? And it could just be that you meet people that have this spirit in them that you have. A connection, right? It's all very simple, and yet it's not. So we had a really amazing time at the show. And then after the show ended, we went to the bar. I met Janie, who ran the Cure fan club. I think, oh God, what was it called? Cure News, Cure Information Services. I can't remember. Cure News. Don't kill me, Chris White. Chris White and Janie basically did this, thing in tandem with the band in the 80s and 90s, where they would help filter all of the fan mail. And they put out this Cure News, these like fanzines where Janie would type and write out everything, like all the questions that the fans would have and statements about their love for the Cure, and they would send in questions to the band, and the band were gracious enough to grant interviews. But anyway, so I met Janie amongst many other people, and I was super excited to meet her. I had already met Chris White in 1999. It was great to see him and meet his wife, and yeah, I could go on all night about how great it was to see so many different people from different countries in one spot. Night 2 comes. Before I got up to the front, I already felt like the vibe inside the arena was less than it was in night 1. It wasn't bad, but it just felt like less innocence and openness was not as present on night 2. And I think that changed quickly as the night carried on. I think I found the Hungarians again pretty quickly. Jennifer was in the front, but you know how it gets when you move towards the front, you kind of drift. So I was with the Hungarians for a while, and then I drifted sort of away from them, and then I found myself. It was very interesting, and this can go into like whether you have a good or a bad show experience. At some point during the second night, I found myself surrounded by some people who I have been told don't like me or my project. And I don't even know if it's true or not. Ugh, I mean, that's the irony about The Cure is like you could be having a great time in your own personal experience and you're listening to The Cure and it's fantastic and vibrant, or you could be having a miserable time in your own personal experience and then The Cure, the soundtrack is still in the back, like supporting your every feeling, right? Because their music is so dynamic. So then I was feeling emotional, and then there's this emotional, it was probably like Last Dance came on or something, and I was just taken by sadness. So again, I was surrounded by 8 million people feeling completely isolated. But lucky for me, I was able to get myself back to where the Hungarians were and I felt at home again. It's not, what did they say? It's not what's in front of you that'll move you forward, but it's what's behind you. The Hungarians are behind you all the way. And then after the show, I mean, I think they ended all 3 nights with Killing an Arab, but fucking Killing an Arab, man. It was like the pinnacle each night. Oh, I can't even describe how good it felt to see that live in that moment. It was so tight, so aggressive. And so much of a fuck you to what's going on in the world right now, right? Because politically, saying Killing an Arab right now is not a good idea. But who gives a shit? So night 2, we all go to the bar again. And for whatever reason, night 2 was like a pinnacle of nostalgia and fun at the bar. And people were dancing and singing until like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm not talking just like a little bit dancing. We go to a 3-hour Cure show and we go and hear The Cure again. And everybody's just celebrating constantly.
Yeah, I think the communal part of the whole Cure fandom came to the climax in Wembley. It was so. It's like you have these people that you really really like, and you see them like once, I don't know, once in 2 years or something. And you see them and you run up to them and give a hug and you're like, oh, fuck it, it's so nice to see you. Then there are those people that you kind of like, hi, it's nice to see you again. Like maybe politely just recognize that they are there. And then there are those people that you kind of, you've seen them a lot. You've never talked to them. But you know that they do the same things you do. The last show I was feeling weird, let's say. I don't know, it's just like at the pre-drink thing, I was just a little bit overwhelmed. It was so busy and there was so many, like, I kind of like didn't want to talk to anybody really. Came to the drink quite late because I was just feeling really lazy. I was at my friend's place in Crouch and then I just couldn't get myself going early enough. But at the same time, it's like I was feeling strange and I didn't really want to be very social, but then at the same time, it was so nice to be surrounded by people that you know and also trying to understand that it's a rare thing to have that moment. And I mean that, who knows, that could be the last time we all come together and sing our hearts out to Cure songs at a Cure gig. I mean, who knows? I don't think that was the end, but I mean, you never know. Maybe that was the last time I saw them. I don't know what's going to happen in my life, but I hope it's not the last time. But still, it's kind of like you have to remember that, kind of like, savor the moments. And I remember the last moments really, really well. But anyway, yeah. I'm happy that the last gigs were in London and not, I don't know, somewhere in Uzbekistan or some place where it's very hard to get to or very expensive. But I remember when the first rumor started that they were gonna do a tour, and maybe it was going to be the last. I decided that whatever happens, wherever they play, I want to be at those last shows, and I kind of knew that they were gonna be in London. And so, yeah, I don't know.
I did manage to pull off a couple of interviews while I was in London this year. And one of them was with Susan Stringfellow, now a friend of mine, but somebody I met at my first Cure drink in London in 1999. And here's a little excerpt of her interview from Wembley. So, yeah, the last time that we did this, you had said you'd come down from Sheffield.
I did. I remember getting a coach. I didn't have much money then. I didn't have a very well paid job when I was really young, and I used to get a National Express coach, and it took about 5 hours. And I remember spending more time on a coach that night to go for a couple of hours to a Cure drink, and then doing it in reverse, going back home the same night, overnight.
Yeah.
So, but it meant a lot to just spend time with my friends and talk about the stuff that we're passionate about.
What year was that?
98, I think.
And what year is it now? Where are we right now?
December 2016, end of the year. Yeah, so 18 years on.
And we're seeing the Cure tonight, but what is this gig?
I feel quite emotional. I didn't expect to feel like I do this tour, meeting my friends again, and people I don't see very often at all. And losing people during your life, like family members, and having that extended family and seeing them again is really special. And I've got to share a lot of time with people that I don't normally get, and finding more out about people and sharing the love that we have for something that most people don't understand, and that's lovely. And I feel like just the last 3 days have been amazing, and so tonight feels hard because it's the last night of that set of experiences, and I don't want that to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever think, like, if you could take yourself back to when we first met, did you imagine that we would be doing this now?
Never. No. You don't think that far ahead. I think when you're sort of in your 20s, really, and as the age I am now, you become more aware of your own morality, and not to get morbid, but things are precious and you don't sort of realise how precious they are, especially friends. And no, I didn't expect to be doing this, but then who knows where life takes you, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I am doing it, because I think it's made me keep my youth. It gives me energy and it gives me stuff to look forward to. I mean, I love music generally, and I watch a lot of bands, but there's no other band that have meant what The Cure mean to me, and they're the most constant thing I've had in my life, apart from like my own family members, and I associate them with different elements of my life, and different songs mean different things, and they're happy and they're sad, and they've never gone away. You know, I've loved them since I was 15, and I first saw them when I was 18, and I never thought I'd see them again at the age of 18, because I was really ill the first time that I saw them. And you know, it's amazing to think I'm still doing it and I'm still loving it like I did, and it gives me joy. I don't think everybody is as passionate as a person, you know, a personality type as other people, and some people just don't get into stuff. And I think, I don't know whether there's quite a heavily weighted amount of creative people who like The Cure, but a lot of my friends certainly are creative types who have, you know, really high points and low points, and get passionate about things, you know, and I think there's got to be a correlation with that. I mean, I don't have anybody at home who understands why I do it, but they love that I do it because they think I'm bonkers, you know, and they just think it's a quirk that's Susan. And it is, but, you know, I'm not unique. It's just they don't know fans like I do, so.
Yeah. So yeah, Wembley Night 3, more of the same, man. And then to hear Robert give such a great thank you to his crew, to the audience, those that were there and not there, and the Twilight Sad. I mean, I think that a big part of everyone's experience this year was taking in the Twilight Sad.
I would like to thank all the crew, obviously. It's the last night of our tour that started in May. And first I'd like to thank you, actually. And because this always goes on the fucking internet, everyone else that came to all the other shows. I actually mean it. I'm sorry that I sound sarcastic. I'm just not used to the internet. I'd also like to thank the Twilight Sad. Because they were without doubt, in a better world, they would be headlining Wembley fucking Stadium.
And I think that what Robert sees in them is also these like seeds of integrity and honesty, which he has.
And we're very lucky to still be doing this. So thank you very much.
I mean, if there's anything that, I don't know, Robert Smith as an artist, I mean, he's just so multifaceted. He writes incredible lyrics. He puts a band together and orchestrates it in just this flawless way, and he's so meticulous every night about the sound. Every night. There's not one night that you can go see The Cure where anybody in the band's gonna phone it in, but especially the lead. You know, he really, every single fucking night that he performs, you can see it in how much he just is fully into each song, all to the point where in some songs you can watch him be taken away by what he is singing. That's what I see. I don't know if it's true or not, but I see him sing sometimes and almost, I want to say almost struggle to stay grounded and not be taken away by the song. Does this make sense to anybody? Yeah, it's like the song has a life of its own. And he has the ability to lose himself in the songs that he's written and go back to those moments that inspired him. But watch, I hope that everybody watches Robert Smith on the guitar. Or take Prayers for Rain. Simple. The guitar work in that is simple, but, chorus, verse, chorus. Robert sings it, and then he goes into the guitar, and that's like his voice. That's another aspect of him. Anyway, all good things come towards their end, and so Wembley ended. And yeah, killing an Arab on night 3, I think it was like the Mount Everest. It was the pinnacle. We made it up to the top. Slightly out of breath. Almost dead, but we made it. And we were all invigorated. And then nobody wanted to leave the stadium. But we did. And we went to the after party, a lot of us, the fan after party. And I don't think Wembley nights 1, 2, and 3 are the kind of show you could say you had to be there. It was amazing being there, but I hope that we, as those who experienced it, can bring you some of the joy and vibrancy that we experienced, because we're all a part of it, I mean, you can find it in Lowell's book about The Cure. Little tiny moments that add up to a history of a band that not only includes the members of the band, past, present, and future, and the songs, but the people who love the music. Gavin, I don't know what you're going to do to follow up this episode, but I think I have some ideas. Over and out, team.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Arusha. We look forward to hearing those ideas. We have plenty in store. Don't you worry, Holy Hour listeners. Although the depression factor of not having current Cure news and updates as they tour around, there is luckily about almost 40 years worth of shit we can dwell on still, so we'll figure something out. But yeah, where does that leave us? I mean, she said it so wonderfully through this whole thing, and everybody is kind of always at every Cure show, like you said. It could be the last. It could maybe not even be the last Cure show, but could be the last show you see. Life is unpredictable and sometimes cruel. We never know what's going to happen to us, and I think it's important with anything in life to appreciate the moment and realize that it could be the last time anything happens. Jesus. Wow, if you weren't depressed just thinking about the tour ending, I bet you are now. Happy holidays. But you never know. But there's still a lot of things to look forward to. Where are they going from here? Nobody knows. Maybe they'll pop up again next year. They're so tight and on it. Maybe they'll keep the ball rolling, play a few festivals or something. And maybe we'll get some new recordings. There's always a optimistic angle to take, and why not take it? So I think they sound great, even if we don't get any new recordings in 2017 or new live shows. There's plenty of stuff they can reissue. They could put out some of these live shows on DVD or Blu-ray. I think everybody would love to see some kind of show from this tour. If not, there's plenty of classic ones like In Orange and Show, and something from the Reflections tour would be amazing. So there's no shortage there of potential for cool things to come out in 2017 Cure related, and maybe Lowell's book will inspire other members of the Cure to give their memoirs a shot and put something out too. We would all love it. But let's get one more quick perspective. Emily, our friend Emily, was so nice to send in something and give us her perspective on Wembley. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Emily. I'm from the Chicagoland area. I was able to make it to the Friday and Saturday shows, and man, I mean, they were definitely in top form. There were plenty of those good music goosebump moments, watching the crowd go crazy and, clapping at certain parts and just everybody knowing what to do and just acting as one. I always love those moments. It was super excellent to hear 10:15 and Arab for sure. Couple funny stories. Friday night, I was sitting next to a 54-year-old named Mick, who's from Glasgow, and he's been following The Cure since the early 80s when they were playing tiny venues and drove around in a van. So he was really fun to chat to here and there, just listening to all the stories he had from back in the day. Saturday, I actually went back to my hostel in the afternoon to take a nap, and because of jet lag, I overslept, and I woke up at like 7. I'm like, oh my God, I have to get to the venue. So I kind of just went as is, paid 50 pounds for a taxi to get there, which is ridiculous, obviously, but what was the alternative? I wasn't going to miss the show. So yeah, both shows were amazing. I had a fun time after on Saturday for sure. I know, first and foremost, we're all there for the music, but at least for me, a really close second is just the community of fans. Whether it's just like this short little chat with someone that I've seen at a bunch of shows, or a longer visit with someone who's also a fan, and that's how I met them, but they've become a good friend for tons of other reasons as well. There just always ends up being so many smaller but equally important things that we have in common. So it was definitely an amazing weekend, and I know we're all thankful for what the band has given us so far, their music and the connections with others that we've made through their music. We're also thankful for all of that, and I know we're all very hopeful that there's still much more to come. Thanks for listening, and I can't wait to see what comes next. All right, thanks. Bye.
So there you go. We can't wait to see what's going to happen next, too. Let's stay optimistic. I like this. Thank you so much, Emily, for contributing, and we hope to hear from you again anytime. Thanks so much for sending in a voice recorded message. I really appreciate that. And feel free to send us any Cure Talk anytime. We'll fit it in. So, and along those lines, we got a wonderful email from Christine about her time in Wembley. I'd like to read that for me real quick. You might recall Christine from earlier episodes of the North American tour. I believe she's in the episode of El Paso in New York City. So let's hear what Christine had to say. She says, "Hi, just wanted to give you my thoughts on the UK shows. I traveled from Seattle to the UK to see the last 4 shows of the tour. I had seen 12 shows over the summer in North America. I saw El Paso, Vegas, Chula Vista, Hollywood 3 times, Mountain View, Ridgefield, Vancouver, and New York City 3 times. And then she says she went to the Manchester show and gives the lowdown on Manchester. I'll skip over that. See episode 40. But let's just say she's on board with how that all went down. Sorry, Manchester. But then back to London. Every night had a pre-show meetup at the bar and around the corner from the venue. The first night in Wembley more than made up for Manchester. The vibe in the audience was electric, singing along to the entire show. And then the surprise of 10:15 Saturday night and Killing an Arab, which they had not played yet this year. After the show, we went back to the bar that we had met up at beforehand and had a good time catching up with friends. The second Wembley show was my most emotional. I cried all through Plain Song and Pictures of You. I was trying to let myself absorb the experience. A friend had commented that this might be the end, and it just hit me. This might be the last time hearing these songs. But I got over it and really enjoyed the show. The third night was just fun. I had a breakdown the night before and just let myself have fun this time. Even if this was the last time I was going to see The Cure again in my life, I wanted to enjoy it, and I did. Again, the audience was energetic the whole time, and I was close enough to get caught up in the mosh pit for Killing an Arab. After both the second and third nights, we went back to the same bar. The whole bar was filled with Cure fans, and they were playing only Cure songs. The whole bar started singing along, and we ended up turning the place into a dance club until the bar had to close. At the end of the third night, we didn't want to leave. Everybody was crying, saying goodbye. I've made so many friends through The Cure, and they are just as much part of going to the shows for me as the band. I saw over 50 Cure fans on my trip to the UK this time, from all over the world, and it's hard to say goodbye when we don't know if or when we're going to see each other again. I'd never been to the last night of a tour before, and I could definitely say it was worth it. I'm so lucky that I get to do this. 33, 34 years ago, I heard my first Cure song. 20 years ago, my first live show, and here I am 36 years later. I hope there's more Cure adventures to be had. If not, I could truly say it's all been worth it, and I'd do it all over again, and again, and again, and again, and again. I'm just not ready for it to be over. For all the crap that happened in 2016, The Cure have been one of the few bright spots for sure. A huge thanks to the band and the Twilight Sad and all the hardworking crew, and to your podcast. It's been fun listening along. Christine from Seattle. Thank you so much, Christine. And yeah, that really just further paints the great picture. I'm assuming you and Arusha must have crossed paths. It sounds like this bar was like almost as much fun as the show, just hanging out. I mean, anytime that would be amazing if you're just at a bar and they're playing Cure songs all night and you got to close it out. But I mean, I can't even imagine after a Cure show like that. That would be so fun. So damn, so envious. I would have loved to have been there. And you know, I love this perspective, and it came up earlier of how it ended on such a positive note, you know, like we keep talking about how this is the end of not just a tour, but as always, you know, the band, this could be it, you know, would have been a great finale. And, but what a positive ending, you know, it would have been so easy and cool too in its own right, you know, if they'd wrapped it up with like Untitled or, you know, Sinking or something epic like that, but and just leave everybody sobbing there in the audience. But the fact that they ended with Killing an Arab, this really like fun punky song, their first single, so it goes full circle, you know, and just leaves everybody still like pumped, you know, and like ready to go and willing to go to a bar and sing along to more Cure songs, hear them all over again, you know, and that's the way it should be, you know, even if this is the finale of everything, that'd be a pretty fucking cool way to go out too, you know. It's like, as much as you want to be sad at a funeral, you know, it's almost better if it's you in particular, you'd want people to hang out and reminisce of the good times and have a fucking real party, not a funeral party, in a sense of, you know, just celebrate the good times and leave it on a positive note. And I think it's exactly what they did, and whether that was intentional or not, who knows? History will tell us, I guess. But it's pretty fucking cool in the meantime anyway. So, all right, guys. Well, that wraps up Wembley and the 2016 tour. Truly can't thank everybody enough that's contributed, not only in this episode of Arusha and Christine and Emily for contributing, and the people that Arusha talked to earlier, David from Barcelona for talking so much with us there, and Phil for dropping in from Berlin, and Iggy Pop for sharing his thoughts, and Antti, always so good to hear from him, and Susan as well. So thank you so much for this episode. But everybody that's contributed, if you just bumped into Arusha while you're at one of these shows, or somebody that you've known, that Arusha has known since, you know, the Dream Tour in 2000, thanks so much for being willing to give us your 2 cents and be a part of this show, indirectly or directly. And we can't thank you enough. And so, yeah, I mean, there was really a shot in the dark of how we could do this, and Arusha really pulled it off. So thanks so much for keeping us all in the loops there, and everybody in the Cure community that she knows, even if you weren't on this specific podcast at any point. You know, everybody from going back to Chain of Flowers website there, Craig and everybody else. So can't thank you enough for letting us be a part of that. And we look forward to many things in 2017 of recapping ideas, finding little niches, talking to my friends that barely know The Cure, talking to you. Feel free to contact us anytime with a Cure topic, and recording or email or however you want to do it. You can always send Cure-related stuff to me, Gavin, at gavinconner@gmail.com. Who knows the future of The Cure, but this podcast will keep forging on until they make us stop. So be sure to subscribe on iTunes. Just type in The Holy Hour Cure, and it should pop up there, and you can subscribe and get the episodes as soon as they're posted. Go on over to Facebook then and like the page so you can follow little tidbits there that we post to go along with each episode, and threads, and you can leave comments there quite easily, pictures and other videos and such, even if it's related to the episodes or not. So Instagram is a great place to keep updated on The Holy Hour. It's The Holy Hour Podcast on Instagram. We'll post pictures and episode updates, but you can also look out for feeler episodes. If I say, hey, we're making an episode about Letter to Elise, send me your thoughts, then that's where you'll know. All right. So keep an eye out. And until then, be sure to go over to Arusha's project, Push, a Cure fan documentary, where you can find out all the latest scoop on that film and donate some money to make sure that gets made. We need to get some bucks in the bucket again. And you can find all that at curefandocumentary.com. And of course, be sure to go buy some cool pre-Christmas, post-Christmas money gifts at mixedupgifts.com. And have yourself a wonderful end of 2016. We got a 2016 wrap-up episode coming up next. Don and I are just going to casually shoot the shit about what we experienced with the podcast, with the band, and what's to come in 2017. So we'll see you then. Until then, talk hard,